So what happens when everything you've ever trained for, everything you believe in, just suddenly feels totally wrong? We're going to dive right into that exact moment today, from the ancient epic, the Bhagavad Gita. It's this incredible battlefield crisis that actually turns into a timeless guide for, well, living a meaningful life.
I mean, think about it. Have you ever been in a situation where your duty, what you have to do, is in a head-on collision with what your heart is screaming is right? That's the dilemma, right? And it's at the absolute center of the story we're getting into. Okay, so let's set the scene. Imagine you are Arjun. You're this legendary warrior, okay? You're standing on the edge of the most important battle of your entire life. The fate of a whole kingdom is on your shoulders. But then you look across the battlefield, and you don't see enemies. You see your family, your teachers, the elders you've respected your whole life. And your job is to fight them, maybe even kill them. I mean, how do you even begin to process that?
So instead of being pumped up for battle, Arjuna is just paralyzed. He's having a complete moral breakdown, just drowning in grief and confusion, right at the moment when everything is on the line.
In this quote right here, it just perfectly captures his state of mind. He's completely overwhelmed. He turns to his charioteer, who's also his guide, Krishna, and basically says, "I'm lost. I have no idea what to do. Please, just tell me what's best for me." For a warrior of his stature, that's a huge moment of vulnerability.
So, what's got him so torn up? Well, like we said, he looks out and doesn't see some faceless enemy. He sees his cousins, his teachers, his own people. The idea of winning a kingdom but having it built on the graves of his own family, it's just unthinkable. So he throws down his weapons and says, "Nope, I'm not fighting."
And this is where the whole thing shifts. Krishna's first response isn't about battle tactics or strategy. No, he goes way deeper. He goes right to the core of Arjun's fear, the very nature of life and death.
Krishna starts with this honestly pretty shocking statement. He's basically saying, hey, the wise don't grieve for the living or the dead. What he's really telling Arjun is, look, I get your pain, but it's coming from a place of misunderstanding. He's about to flip Arjun's whole view of reality on its head.
And here's the absolute key distinction he makes. He breaks it down. The body you see, it's temporary. It can be destroyed. But the soul, the real you inside, that's eternal. It's indestructible. It can't be killed. This one idea is the bedrock for everything else that follows.
And to make it super clear, Krishna uses this brilliant, simple analogy. He says the soul, casting off a body, is just like you taking off old, worn-out clothes and putting on new ones. See, death isn't the end. It's just a change, a transition. So his point is, why would you grieve so much for something that's just a natural part of the cycle?
Okay, so after dropping that major philosophical knowledge bomb, Krishna brings it right back down to earth. He pivots from the eternal soul to something much more immediate and practical, Arjun's duty as a warrior. And Krishna doesn't mince words here. He lays it out plain and simple. He tells Arjun, look, as a warrior, your duty, your dharma, is to fight for what's right. If you back down now, you're not just going to lose the battle, you're going to face sin and total disgrace. And he adds that for a respected person like Arjun, that kind of shame is way worse than death.
But it's not just that he should fight, it's how he should fight. And this part is crucial. Krishna tells him to do it with a steady, balanced mind. Treat happiness and sadness, winning and losing all the same. Just focus on doing your duty and don't get tangled up in the emotional roller coaster of the results.
All right, this brings us to probably the most famous, most profound teaching in the entire Bhagavad Gita. Krishna's about to lay out what he calls the science of work, basically a way to act in the world without getting trapped by your actions.
The term for this is Buddhi Yoga, or the yoga of intellect. The idea to use your mind to perform your duties skillfully, but without getting hung up on the fruits of your labor, the rewards or failures. A great way to think about it is like a surgeon. They have to be completely focused on the operation, the action itself, not on whether they'll be praised or blamed afterward. It's all about pure, skillful action.
And this verse, this is the heart of it all. You have a right to perform your prescribed duties, but you are not entitled to the fruits of your actions. Basically, do your job, do it well, but the results, they're not yours to claim. Don't let your motivation be fear of failure or desire for success. Just do the work.
And just to show how high the stakes are, Krishna then explains the slippery slope, this psychological chain reaction that happens when we get attached. It all starts when you fixate on something. That leads to attachment. Attachment breeds desire. And when that desire isn't fulfilled, Boom. Anger. Anger messes with your judgment, clouds your intellect, and once your intellect is gone, well, you're ruined. We've all felt this, right? That little spark of frustration when something doesn't go our way? Krishna is just taking that to its logical and pretty scary conclusion.
So, okay, this all sounds great in theory, but what does it actually look like to live this way? That's what Arjun wants to know. He's curious about what a person with this kind of divine consciousness, this steady wisdom, is really like in day-to-day life.
And I love this question because it's so down to earth. Arjun's basically asking, okay, Krishna, I get the philosophy, but show me the receipts. How does an enlightened person talk? How do they sit? How do they walk? He wants to know how this wisdom translates into actual real-world behavior.
And Krishna's answer paints a picture of someone who's achieved like ultimate inner peace. This person isn't driven by selfish desires, their mind doesn't get rocked by misery or jump for joy at pleasure. It's just steady. They can pull their senses back from the world of distractions, kind of like a tortoise pulling its head and limbs into its shell for safety. They are, in a word, the masters of their own mind.
So, all this ancient wisdom, which came out of this intense moment on a battlefield, it leaves us with a really powerful question for our own lives, doesn't it? How would your life change if you could just focus on your actions, on doing your best, and completely let go of the results? Just think about the kind of freedom and peace that could bring.